Hi, this is Mike Hansen. I'm a new HR director here in DHRM. The purpose of this webinar is to give a very high-level brief overview of the new ODBIT team. You're wondering who that is? You should have been in the much longer and more inspirational webinar that was held earlier this week on the topic. This is how we see the world. We think there's a stormtrooper motif. We'll get into that later. But more importantly, there are tens of thousands of people that have, do, and will work for the state of Utah, and therefore the state has created DHRM with a mission to provide the tools and remove barriers for state agencies and the workforce. And this is how we see the system of DHRM. We attract and select the workforce, we strengthen and support the workforce, and we facilitate succession and separation within the workforce. This is how we're more specifically organized. You can see the classy stormtroopers here. This is your ODBIT team. And we see ourselves as the utility belt of the department. We also kind of wonder logically what the other divisions see themselves as far as accessories and or body parts of the stormtrooper. But anyway, the ODBIT stands for Organizational Development and Business Intelligence Team. We think there are 5 components to it, and we think that you need these components because there are certain drivers out in the world that are deeply affecting the workforce and the public sector in general. The first is their ongoing expectations to optimize. The names change as far as the initiatives, but the demand remains the same, to always do more with less. And that will never go away, and therefore DHRM needs to actively build a cadence of innovation and transparency. The way you do that is you dedicate resources to it, or else it just doesn't happen. And that's one of the things the ODBIT team is going to focus on. The other thing is data needs to be leveraged as a strategic asset. If you don't use it as an asset, it can become a liability for the department. And so this team is focused on that. We think another driver out there is just the fact that demand for talent is fierce, and the demands on that talent are fierce, not just in the IT world where their skills, the demand for the skills quickly changes. We think this is true in pretty much every part of the workforce. And not only that, you have a lot of the workforce that's soon going to be exiting with these baby boomer retirements and so forth. The last driver that we wanted to bring up is just the amount of noise that's out there. If you didn't see the 30-minute webinar, it's because you were too busy to do it, and you said, oh wow, there's a 5-minute version, great, but you'd be lucky to get past this point because you have so much going on. Well, if you're in an organization like DHRM that has important information to communicate, you've got to find a way to make that water get to the end of the row. We need to be really effective in our communication. In fact, of the 5 parts of our tool belt that we see, we think that data visualization is a critical component of it. To address that noise, we need to help agencies see themselves in the data. There's a story behind data, but to tell the story is not intuitive sometimes. Sometimes it takes a little bit more work to say a simple story. And here's one example. Eric, they do good work and so forth. We put out all these reports, but what we did differently now is we made a 1-page infographic that says, here's the whole year. Here's a snapshot. If people want to know more, they can come get our really thick report. But this infographic might inspire them to see things differently. Another part of the tool belt is systems management. We know DHRM has made a pretty significant investment in IT. Our goal is to continually improve that information architecture so that it adds value, so that it gets used and used properly. The bottom graphic on the right is sort of a systems map. It doesn't actually capture all the systems that we're watching over. One thing that we need to do is look more into Google Apps. Google has great functionality, and the state has, because of security and cost and so forth, taken a very cautious approach in adopting some of those tools. Our team wants to explore those and see if we can do more with them, just as an example. With workforce planning, again, there's a silver tsunami that the literature is talking about with these baby boomer retirements. They're going to fundamentally change state government. We need to be proactive in helping them do succession planning, helping them understand what workforce planning is really all about. For example, we've done a workforce profile since 2005, and it's been a document that honestly probably goes on a lot of shelves. It's critical information, but it's generic to the state as a whole. What we're going to do now is take that information, automate it so that we're not touching it all the time as a team. Put that out there, but realize that the audience for that is probably more of answering the question of who works for the state? What is it like to work for the state? Almost more of a recruiting tool than a strategic document that a department director can use with their 200 unique employees. So what we'll do is we'll put the profile out there, as we've always done. Well, not us, we've always done, but we're going to automate that in a way that's a little less touch on our side. But then what we will do is be more specific to agency data, and then walk into that department director and say, here's how your average age, in your organization, and here's your turnover issue, and here's what the data looks like. Now let's talk about what to do about it. That's something that we can, we think, as stormtroopers, we can help add value in. Project management, we want to be a lot more deliberate on A, what projects we do, and B, how are we getting them done. I know in the past it seems the culture has been kind of frenetic. Everything's a top priority. Our team is going to help refine that and make it a little more prioritized, but also drive to completion projects. We need to plan ahead and get the resources, the financial resources especially, but also the IT resources and so forth. The way we think we're going to do that is through deliberate planning. This is a Gantt chart that we use in our world, and we would like to kind of introduce this in one form or another throughout the department with projects. So that, again, we decide that we've got the ladder against the correct wall, and we help get up that ladder as fast and as efficiently and appropriately as possible. The last piece of our utility belt is operational excellence. This is the governor's initiative. It's clearly a very high priority. It's clear that governor is taking steps to align his resource prioritization with those departments that can definitely show a return on the investment in them. Our team is going to focus on exceeding the governor's goals so that Dhrm is not constrained as we have to compete against, in that area of such limited resources as state government has and is going to have. So again, just to recapture, the ODBIT team, we're the stormtroopers. We're multidisciplinary. We're tech-oriented. We're support and development. Just call us stormtroopers if you need to. We define success as driving enterprise-wide initiatives. We're going to refine our systems, and we're going to position Dhrm as a strategic partner of the agencies. Honestly, this is how we see the department, and we think you will too. Thanks. If you have any questions, call Low Rudd, and we'll talk to you later.